Hello and welcome to this replay of the 2021 Sport Business Women in Sport Conference. We were joined by over 350 individuals from 15 countries around the world for the virtual setting that has had to take place this year, but we tried to make as best a job of it as we could. The reaction to today's conference was excellent from everybody that was there. They felt inspired, they felt empowered, and they felt ready to go and do the job that we all need to do to make sure that equality in terms of sport for men and women is something that's on everybody's agenda. We were joined by a wonderful lineup of speakers throughout the morning, and here is a selection of some of the highlights. I am delighted now to be joined by Lisa Clancy and Sarah O'Shea. Lisa is a former head of communications with the GAA, a board director of Paralympics Ireland and head of Clansult. Sarah O'Shea has been involved at a very senior level with the Football Association of Ireland and is currently the secretary of the Olympic Federation of Ireland. They are out there doing it, making sure that leadership does have a female face to it. And perhaps more importantly, or as importantly, over the last year, they've been running a leadership programme with Sport Ireland, which has brought over 100 individuals through a leadership course, which is going to enable them to feel empowered to actually take up positions of leadership. We have got a bit of work to do on it. In the last Sport Ireland survey, we were up to 29% of female representation on the boards of sporting organisations. But if you take out the 3 new organisations that came in, we'd actually slipped backwards a little bit on what we were in 2019. So things need a little bit of work. They need more people to step up. We need to empower them to step up. Lisa and Sarah, you're very welcome to Women in Sport this morning. Tell me, what kind of people were attracted to the programme that you were offering?
Thanks, Rob, and Céad Míle Fáilte. That's an Irish welcome to our global audience. I was one of the people that was with you 9 years ago, Rob, us and a few others on this journey. So it's great actually to be here this morning, 300 people across the world to discuss an important subject. But I suppose one of the things, if you remember in 2013, Rob, I stood up in the audience and said, this is great, we're all talking, but what are the actions? What are we actually doing? And it's great that Sarah and I are here this morning, and thanks for asking us to actually just tell you a bit about our journey and the leadership program that we ran. There are all types of individuals, from prison officers to doctorates. There are nurses, there are women who run vaccine centres, there are staff from many of the sports, 28 sports across the country. And all of these females have one thing in common. They're as passionate about sport as Sarah and I are. They want to make change, and they want to be part of that change. And really the backdrop is when Sarah and I did the research for the Women in Sport Strategy for Ireland back in 2018, it was just really clear that we needed to use our background in sport at a senior level, from being in the roles that we're in, but also as volunteers, and really help these women step up and shape sport into the place that we felt it should be. Gender should not be a barrier to potential. We have 52% women in this country. Every woman, every single person on that course, we're on our 6th course now, will all step up, help other leaders, because that's it's a network to support each other, but also go into those leadership positions.
Is it one of the challenges that traditionally sporting leadership has been in the control of men that have come through the system? They've earned the right in their own minds and in their own blazers to sit at the top table and make the decisions. And the ability to break into that, to break that cycle, to bring merit as opposed to to a lifetime of engagement. How can we break it? How can we actually sort of bring forward the kind of women that we know are going to make a significant difference to those boards? What is the magic bullet, Sarah?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, Rob. I suppose, first of all, it's important, yes, that sports organisations traditionally are designed, their patriarchal system. They were originally designed by men, for men, and trying to break that mould is, there's a lot of steps involved in that. So I think that is important. The structures that are there in sporting organisations, and you will know I'm quite passionate about governance and bringing in governance changes. So for me, that is a key area. While there are barriers identified in a lot of research out there in terms of confidence barriers, and we all know women like to feel supported and they like to be asked to step forward. They like to be encouraged. They like to understand the role. They're into the detail. They don't like to take up positions unless they know what the role encompasses. They don't just say yes. So that is in the research, but it is very important we don't use those barriers as an excuse. And there's a lot of excuses always out there that we can't find the women, or women don't want to step up, or they don't have the confidence. Women around the world and women in this country are very talented. They have the skills. They are well able. They are well equipped. And it is important when we're looking at leadership and development of women that we accept that that's there. What women sometimes want, though, is a forum where they can share their views in the area. They can talk about the barriers that there might be in their particular organisation, and they talk about how they can affect the change and how they can support other women. In relation to like structural barriers, like constitutions in sport are, some of them go back decades. And as I said, they were written by men for men at a very historical time. Now, we're quite advanced here in Ireland and other countries in Western Europe, but other parts of the world as well are quite advanced. But in other areas, constitutions need to be pulled out of that dusty drawer. They need to be examined. And it isn't easy changing constitutions. And unlike other industries, we can't just parachute people onto boards. There's election systems. We need to identify pipelines for women. We need to make sure they're supported by other policies within the organisation. So there is a lot of technical work in terms of structures that needs to be done, but it can be done. And as you mentioned, I'm on the Olympic Federation of Ireland, and we recently brought in structural changes to our constitution, fully supported by a majority of men, to bring in a 40% minimum of both genders, not 30%, but 40%. And now we have 50% on that board. So that's something we're very proud of.
The program has been really good. It's been run through Sport Ireland, but it was inspired by Swim Ireland, which was an organisation that actually put its own hand up and said, I think that we need to change this. So both Sarah Keane and Trish Mahan and the whole team there at Sport Ireland, Swim Ireland were very impressive in doing that. What did you learn when you were actually sort of putting forward the content of material that you wanted to tell people? What were you hearing back from the participants about the things that they needed to know, that they wanted to know, or perhaps that they never realised that they needed to know?
Well, I think the first thing in relation to women, Sarah and I think we did a 60-page report, a lot of research looking across the globe in order to for Sport Ireland to then take that and put into actions for women in sport policy. So we had done a lot of work on that. So we took ourselves off to Donegal for a week, Sarah and I. And the first thing is women support women. So there's no way I could have done it on my own. And Sarah has very strong skills in governance, and I have strong skills in communication. So the two of us working together, coming from the background we had, sat down and designed the program that we would have liked when we were in our senior positions. And I think we started from that basis. We looked at the barriers, as Sarah's mentioned, around confidence, about supporting each other. We looked at key things that came up from that research: imposter syndrome, the need for confidentiality, to make sure that the courses were all open. Now, and we crafted this we spent one whole week doing that. We went away from it and we came back again, and then we planned for everybody to come together and learn from each other, and the pandemic struck. So we said, okay, we'll adjust the sails and we'll go online, and we did not know how it was going to go. And we started off with group one, who will always be our first our children on the course in September. And Rob, I suppose we would ask for feedback during the time, and Swim Ireland came along and helped us to put that course out to others. So they're an invaluable partner for the idea that Sarah and I had. But what's interesting, you mentioned at the beginning, last night, tough day during the pandemic, it was a long day, and next thing, one of the WhatsApp groups came and said, yes, one of our participants has just been appointed to the judo board. They are now over 30%, went from 0 to 30. We started in September and we have 7 females now on NGB boards and 1 on a European board. And that's only from the first 4 courses. Never did we dream that we would have such immediate impact. We were looking at helping women step up. You know, what are your goals in the next first 1 year, 5 years? But it was, and it's not just about getting women on board and being part of that, but having a voice in meetings, having a voice in the clubs. It's about, you know, we have from 19 to 68, that's our range. So for the older, more mature women to help the younger ones step up, and for the younger ones to teach the more mature women. So each session we learn from, and we've come to course 6 now, and now we're taking a pause and really Sport Ireland evaluating the course. How can we make it better? How can we even make more impacts? Also, key to point out, we mentioned men, really important in this conversation. We brought in expert speakers, all friends of mine, of Sarah's and of mine, over our sporting journey, and men were along that journey to help the women. Bernard Dunn, Liam Sheedy, Stephen McNamara, all from different sports, yourself. And Glen Killane is on our list. He's offered to help back in January. But they're important because it's not just women against men, it's together. And they joined with the experts like Lynne Cantwell, who's chairing the Women in Sport Committee, and appointing Nora Stapleton, another key appointment. Huge changes have happened, and all we're doing is actually making it real and giving the females, we're not miracle workers, Sarah and I, we're good, we're not that good. We just help and support the women to step up and work with that feedback, and we want to kick on again.
You see, this is what comes when you have a sporting organisation that decides that it just needs to do something rather than think about doing something. And most importantly, and we have representatives from 3 government departments in the room with us this morning, it might not have happened had you not been able to go to Donegal to actually brainstorm. So if anybody is thinking of the inspiration that comes from being allowed to leave our county boundaries, well, here is the proof in the pudding. There are still 13 organisations that have less than 10% gender balance. I'm just going to run a short poll across the room now at the moment on whether we think that quotas are a good idea in order to actually force change, because it is very much a question of, well, you know, it needs to be done on merit, it needs to be done in the right way. You know, is quotas the right way? So as that's going through there, Sarah, you might just try and tilt the voting one way or the other. At the moment, it's running strongly enough in favour that yes, quotas are the thing. You've been there. You've been through the mill. The Olympic Federation of Ireland has achieved 50% balance now. Is it important that we do need to force this change?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of factors. You know, it is hard to ask that black and white question. So in an ideal scenario, I don't think any women want quotas. They want equality, they want parity, they want to be appointed like any other man would be onto a board. However, when you come to an impasse or you come to a position where all the encouragement and all the coaxing is not working and all the education isn't working, then quotas have a very good place in terms of bringing people over the line. And it is very important as well, quotas, that it does highlight then specific, in our world, specific sports. Because if you have an overall quota, then some organisations have plenty of women on the board and others don't. So quotas can highlight where there are deficiencies as well, Rob. So quotas are a fast track mechanism. They can't sit there on their own because, as I said before, there's a huge amount of work to be done in terms of changing constitutions and in sport, election procedures, and making sure the election processes are open to women and that they feel comfortable standing for election and running for election. And there's lots of different ways we can do that. Quotas is one tool in the toolkit. I flip-flop for a long time on quotas, but I am a supporter of quotas now, and at a point where you've tried everything else and nothing else is working. So I'd be very interested to see, I'd like us to see it lift that 30% though. I think that's still a bit low. I'd like to see it up at least 40.
I think it's really important that we do need to get beyond that. Well, the votes of the room are in. 68% think that quotas are a good thing, 13% that they are not, and 20% that are not sure. So a little bit of wriggle room there, but on balance, it does seem to be the fact that quotas are the best way of going about it. We've got a couple of people that have been on your course that are saying nice things about you. Great coverage coming through on Twitter as well. We've got people that are watching from sitting on their bikes. We've got people that are watching from looking out over the Firth of Forth. Always wanted to say that on the screen. So there are plenty of things that we need to do and that we have to do and we can do. From the experience you've had over these past few months of working on this program, what's the one thing that you would like to put in place in 2021 that you think will have a real impact over the next 3, 5, 10 years? I'll come to you first, Lisa.
I think, Rob, the one thing, it's a tough time at the moment, right? Pandemic, and particularly for females. It came up in our research. They're the ones who are looking after the children, and fathers are coming into, but the parents, a lot of pressure comes on the women. And the one thing is, we've had a lot of fun. It's been a privilege. Genuinely, I could have a hard day and a Monday, a Tuesday night. It was an absolute privilege. We laughed tears of joy, of we'd lost during the course. And as such, they brought me joy, and I'm privileged to be part of that journey with them. And I'd like to continue that on. And I think if we have, how many people have we got on here, Rob, now at the moment? If each person putting the time in today, we've got a few hours, if each one could have a think of one female that they could help and mentor to step up either onto a board, onto a senior position in sport. If each one of you listening today could do that as an action, imagine that, even that impact. I mean, Sarah and I genuinely with 100 women, and they've all stepped up in some way. We've seen them blossom over a 2-month period. But if each person watching this today, if they could take an action, I'd like to sit back here now this time next year and see that really move up. And it's about a combination of us in Ireland, working with Sport Ireland, working with all those NGBs, those local sports partnerships, and putting it as a priority and putting it as a key personal value for yourselves around equality, because that's what it's all about.
Well, there is a call to action. Sarah, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I suppose I'm kind of fed up people saying, well, we can't do this because we don't have enough women. We don't know where to find the women. The women are there. So for me, that's a key action. And taking that action. The women are out there. It's about sporting organisations putting processes in place to identify where they are, to get a women's forum going, to get a governance committee going, to encourage the women within your sport to come online and have a call and see how they can help the organisation move forward. The women are there, they're very talented, and this idea that, well, we don't know where we could find women, more than 50% of the population are women, and it's the same in sport.
Are we ready? If anybody wants fabulous women, we'll support them all.
Okay, fabulous women. Well, we'll be speaking to Sue Anstiss later on, and she's set up the Women's Sport Collective and Fearless Women. So fearless and fabulous.
Absolutely.
That's a pretty good combination. My sincere thanks to you, Lisa, and to you, Sarah. We've been on this journey together for a while yet, and a while still to come. So thank you very much.
And thank you for giving us the platform, Rob. Thank you, appreciate it.
And I hope everybody enjoys the rest of today. Looking forward to it. Bye.